so-called responsible for the gap or who bridge this are in one room year after year, events after events. So good, I think to kick it off, Shankar and Parag, then I realized that ChatGPT had become her education co-pilot, right, for everything she's doing. And then I realized that this is the generation we are talking about.
Creating a new workforce, right, that has to work on climate tech, that has to work on sensor tech in various applications, right? Academia is struggling with it, industry is struggling. Great to be here. Also good to see more than just one listener in this room. So thank you for being here. I'm really thrilled with this session for many reasons. Before we got here, we were in the other room and almost rehearsing everything. And I wish we could relay that conversation, but we'll try our best to recreate that. You know the backgrounds. I could ask for more because early in the morning we were discussing this industry academia gap. And ever since I started my career, it's always been talked about. So the question has always been why the gap continues to exist. And if the people who are so-called responsible for the gap or who bridge this are in one room year after year, events after events, then why do we still sit down and keep talking about it without bridging the gap or whatever that is? So good, I think to kick it off, Shankar and Parag, in the age of AI, let us humanize you a little. Can both of you, I understand both of you have children who are now going to college and looking at the world ahead of them. It would be good to hear from you, what is your worldview and how is it getting shaped with this personal lived experience? Because a lot of time we talk about data, we talk about insights, and we don't tend to humanize it enough. So I'm just throwing this as a challenge to you. Help us see the world that you see as you watch your kids go to college and perhaps navigate the uncertainties that we are talking about. Parag, you go first.
And thank you, Pankaj. Thanks, Bro. It's such a great thing to see such a full room, and obviously I hope this interaction is fruitful for all of us, and I am hoping to learn a lot. I'm Parag Pande, work for Accenture, and I have and I'm like 55 plus of years of age, so clearly somebody who's like left college long back, right? But I've got a daughter who's studying right now business and computer science with NTU. This is Nanyang Technology University in Singapore, and she grounds me often, okay, because she's or reverse mentors me, and I've had several experiences, right, where, and if some of you have daughters, daughters can spar with you and sometimes tell you that you don't know what, you don't know think about what's happening today. But but one of the things I continue to see, right, like my daughter does a lot of projects now with generative AI, and the latest experience I had was she was preparing for a presentation to UBS, with which it was she was doing a mentorship program. They were mentoring her, right? She's in second year. She's completed second year, third year. And she was to make a presentation to them, right? Like every week, all such children, right? She came. She said, "Papa, I've got a presentation, and what do you think about it, right?" And she had a presentation, and then she had notes, right? And she just wanted to run it past me, okay? And as she was talking, as she was talking from the notes, right, and I was giving her feedback, she was using ChatGPT simultaneously, right? So she has a paid version of ChatGPT. And she was toggling between the two. And ChatGPT was so innate to her in terms of, developing scripts, talk points, etc. Then I realized that ChatGPT had become her education co-pilot, right, for everything she's doing. And then I realized that this is the generation we are talking about. Okay? And this started a year back when I was talking to one of our, we've got one of our very senior leaders who's one of the world's foremost thought leader in generative AI. And he said, Parag, prompt engineering is the skill of now. Right? Everybody should know prompt engineering. And I came back home, my daughter was interning with a consulting company in Bangalore last year. And I just mentioned it to her, this is what this senior leader, very senior leader is telling me. She did a course on on prompt engineering from Coursera, right? And this was a year back, and now it has become a way of life for her. It has become a life skill. And that is the generation we are talking about.
Shankar, you dropped a son very recently to a university. What is the word used?
Yeah, I think Parag's personal experience is quite telling. And as I'm preparing my son for college, like many kids of the generation, his writing is not good. Forget others, he himself can't understand his own handwriting. So, and in college I take a lot of lectures, etc. So I was thinking about how do I help him? And it's a small device the size of a credit card to just record lectures. So I started using it a week ago. And then it uses ChatGPT on the back end. Right? That's when I realized that with that, he will not have to take notes. He can listen. Right? And as I started using it, day before I had a meeting which I could not attend, a Zoom call. 1 hour 40 minutes. Right? So I was supposed to catch up with it. So I just ran it through the software and then asked the software, because I knew the context of the meeting, who was the most skeptical of all the participants? What was his or her problem? Why was he or she skeptical? It answered that. This is the person, here were his 4 problems. Second, tell me how the energy of the meeting fluctuated from beginning to end. And it talked about 3 levels of energy. Right? That's all I needed to know. The rest of the details is there, and obviously it will generate a transcript and meeting minutes and all. But what I was looking for was what a good EA would have done. Ask those questions, which tells me what is happening in the meeting and not what people spoke in the meeting. And that's when I realized that these kind of capabilities can fundamentally alter how we work. Because a fundamental disruption that's been introduced because of Gen AI is ability of machines to understand you, to reason, and to think, right? Not just follow orders. Of course, as I was telling you, to me it is the light bulb moment of Thomas Edison 1878. We are still 5-10 years away from exploiting it. That's one example, right? And I realized how fundamentally it would change a lot of industries. Second, my younger son is a tinkerer. He has to get his hands dirty. So he's thinking about building a robot which will talk to a drone. And he's asking me, what should I study? And I said, I have no clue. Electronic engineering? Not enough. Aeronautical? Not enough. Electrical? Not enough. So how do we look at creating a new workforce, right? That has to work on climate tech, that has to work on sensor tech in various applications, right? Academia is struggling with it, industry is struggling with it, and so I told my son, like the famous dialogue from Sholay, "Pata chalte pata dekhe." Right? But how to end? My older son entered college 15 years ago. So any child entering college now, the school system now, will graduate 15 years ago. Let me show you something that was state of the art 15 years ago. Anybody recognize this? What is it? Sorry? A BlackBerry. Most of you would not have, depending on the age, would not have seen one of this, but 15 years ago this was state of the art. Now it doesn't exist or is outdated primitive tech. As Parag was saying earlier generations were measured in terms of decades. Now, at best, it is years. How do we get our students ready for something we don't know what's going to happen? For something that by the time they graduate, multiple generations of tech and disruptors have happened. Right? If this was the start of the age of smartphones, we're entering the start of the age of generative AI. Where that will be 15 years from now, we don't have a clue. Right? So all of these are sobering thoughts, which leave me with more questions than answers.
Yeah, and
Sorry,
the next.
I keep this in my study table to remind me of what happens if you ignore innovation. If you stay in the status quo and hoping that things will be okay with you. Didn't end well with these guys. So, it's a daily reminder.
Good. I think so over the next 15 minutes, that's the time I'm targeting for us to wrap this up. I hope we have more questions, if not answers. So very quickly, Parag, if I were to extrapolate your career, I think at some point in time, you would end up hiring over 1 million people, right? At some point in time, and I hope you do. What is happening at your end? Because I know in this room, you can call almost everyone on stage, and we'll get answers and questions that again take us to the same place where we have been, this gap. But can you just be bluntly honest about it and tell us what is happening at your end and why are we sitting here discussing this gap again and again?
It's interesting. So first, thank you all because a lot of you represent universities and we hire from you, right? Or we potentially hire from you. Accenture, we've got a pretty large headcount in India, and we by far are very large. We have a very large workforce, so we obviously need to hire a lot of talent. The reason why we are here in India is talent, people. Yeah. And many years back, right, when I used to attend this training placement officers meet, right, which was many years now, right, I was asked by one of the placement officers that what can we do to make talent more company ready? Can we do some certifications? Yeah. So my response incidentally has not changed, right? One, we will always hire people for here and now. Okay, the businesses or the technologies, we have people working on, right? And it's also a reality that it's such an evolving technology landscape that some of these technologies are less than a year old, okay, in terms of maturity. So it's also a fact that, so the question is really, how is an academic institution I can make my talent organization ready or company ready, right, so that they have more than, a fair opportunity of success, yeah. And my answer to that is, yes, right, I mean, the foundational things will not go away. Right, the education, because that's important and that's, that helps people who join us become successful, that's definitely. But most importantly, remember they're joining in an industry which has high pace of change, both in terms of the business landscape and also in terms of technology or the skills landscape. So what will hold them in good stead really is, one, a deep intellectual curiosity. So as long as you are training people or helping your students hone up intellectual curiosity, it will hold you in good stead. Because that's what, if they are deeply curious, they will actually be great learners. Second is learnability, right? Their ability, the days of content, right? And I'm talking to institutions here, right? When you could publish book and the book is relevant for next many years, is long gone. Okay? Because a lot of content is right now. So then what we did as an organization, we realized this is, and we said, can we harvest content from the front line, which means we hire people and make frontline content available to them, right? So we democratized learning and we started getting content from the front line, which is experts, being made available to people who are joining us. We realized that that's also not good enough because a lot of our people are joining in technology like generative AI, etc., where the content is evolving as we speak. So they have to be great learners, right? To land up and get comfortable and start acquiring skills and become experts on the job themselves. Yeah? And the third thing really is your ability to be comfortable with change. Okay? All your students, employees, everybody, right? Whatever you are doing today will not be relevant in the coming years. But what you are doing today is massively relevant. So, the sum and substance is companies will always hire employees or students for impact, right? Which is here and now. But the journey that the students will end up taking with them will be a journey of fast evolving landscape where they would be expected to learn on the go every day.
No, this is very, very interesting and very powerful too. Shankar, coming to you, the learnability that he's talking about. You are someone who's contributed to policies, and then you're also someone who's worked at a population scale project, Aadhaar, where you got people from different states. How do we get that into the curriculum?
Let me start with some specific example of how this is happening and then pose a larger question. In Delhi school education system, there is a curriculum for entrepreneurship that they created together with Udyam Foundation based out of Bangalore, started by Nikhil, one of the early Flipkart guys. As part of this curriculum, each child is given 2,000 rupees, and you can create a team together. So if there are team of 5, you get 10,000 rupees. So this is known as the Delhi Business Blaster program. And 3 lakh children have kind of gone through this. They create projects, and these projects are evaluated by internal and outside. The top 1,000 are given mentorship. The top 100 are qualified for college admissions, just like a sports quota. In Delhi, they have a quota where some of these children go to college because they have done well in the entrepreneurial thing. If you talk to them, by the way, one of them created an Uber for Kabaddi Walas. Right? When you want your Kabaddi removed, instead of waiting for a guy learning, you just dial a number and somebody will come and collect it. Right? A class 11 child using 2,000 rupees and 5 teammates started working on the idea. Now they have set up a company where they're hiring some 30 people. He's still in college. Okay, they're running this. Now, if you talk to all of them, they say that किताबों से असली दुनिया की ज्ञान मिली है by working on this. Entrepreneurship teaches you how to communicate to others, teaches you how to collaborate, teaches you how to solve problems, teaches you to do research. Also teaches you the power of working on your personal passion. This specific kid, Karan Kumar, based in Delhi, he used to see the mountains of trash around him and he used to wonder why aren't people doing anything. Right? So, this entrepreneurship curriculum of Delhi has now been taken, reapplied in Punjab and early days of Telangana and Andhra Pradesh. Right? So, it did not come from academia. It came from practitioners who felt the need, put their expertise together, co-created this curriculum with academia, Delhi SARP, who implemented it, and over past 3 years, they have learned on their own. Other states like Telangana, etc., are still trying this and they will scale it up. Now, we can replace entrepreneurship with, there's also another course called happiness curriculum, where children start the class every day with 10-minute meditation. Okay. Now, Parag talked of the reality of industry being any talent here and now. The reality of academia is preparing people for tomorrow. Right? Unless we build bridges between these two, both will suffer. Right? And the example I gave is an example where an industry which has certain core strengths that it treats as foundational, problem solving, numerical ability, communication ability, whatever it is, right? It can work with academia to create this curriculum, get a pool of experts, right? Because now, I don't think too many people here know about the Delhi curriculum, right? Or VCs, if there are any here, are keeping an eye out there. Why shouldn't a Karan Kumar want to become a great entrepreneur? We know in cricket that a real talent lies not necessarily in the urban areas, but we need a massive system of talent scouting. Right? Our talent, for which companies come to India, is lying in the 8,000 colleges and universities and million plus schools. How are we scouting for talent? Can we apply some ideas from sports? Right? Can industry create these specific courses as a gift to academia, who can then take, incorporate it? National education policy fully allows this. Right? The core focus of NEP 2020 is a shift from content to concepts, from content to competence, because that's what is needed in the 21st century. Nobody cares how much you know. What they care is what you can apply, what you can do with others. Right? So this is just one example. There are several others, but what I want to end on, it's a massive problem. But as a country, we have shown through Aadhaar and UPI and many other things how we can come together if there is an architecture of collaboration, which is even a layer below the architecture of technology, the architecture of human processes. What's the architecture of collaboration that allows diverse entities, academia, industry, startups, funders, government policy institutes to come together, each doing what they're good at. But the architecture enables a massive network effect, right? We have done this. I'm confident that we can do this in bridging the industry academia. If we don't, 20 years later, we'll still be sitting in conferences like this, talking about industry academia bridge and the need to do something.
I don't want to be back.
Can I add to what Shankar? See, one of the things for colleges is what you do is irreplaceable. It's not that industry can replace what you do, right? You are building very strong foundations which last many years, right? So a lot of CEOs of organizations which are in cutting edge technology, they never learned those technologies, right, in college, right? But what they learned were some foundational, skills, behaviors, learnability, which then held them up in good stead over the years. You also provide the sandbox, right, and a safe environment for students, right, except that you give them marks, okay, which may be sometimes, creates some pressure, but you really give them that sandbox to explore, experiment, work in different areas as they explore what interests them, what will make them happy. Because it's, for their success, it's also important. It's not only what you are good at doing, but what will make you happy, what you are passionate about. And you are providing that sandbox that's so good, right? And you have you have 4 years when the students are with you to provide all of that. And all of that then manifests in terms of their successes and subsequent experiences when they join corporates.
So, final comments from both of you, but if you can in few seconds possible to touch upon this, like who will work on this learnability problem? Like years ago, over the past decade or so, we have watched companies set up massive training campuses, and all of that has been happening.
But we are back talking about the same things again and again and again. Who solves this problem?
So I'm quite clear, it's the individual that has to work. You have to provide, the right environment, and we have to provide the right environment. Okay? So if I'm sure a lot of your students actually ask you, right? What job should I take, right? And often it's about the biggest ticket. Okay? And because it's also an issue of self-esteem, yeah? I would, my advice to a youngster graduating from college will be, go to a company that will help you hone up your intellectual curiosity. Period.
Shankar, anything that people can take away from here, very actionable.
Mushkil hai, but let me try. Now this point that Parag made about learnability, right? Finally, the problem has to be solved by the individual because it's a learning is a lifelong skill. But it has to be enabled by industry, by academia. It has to be powered by policies and all these soft infrastructure we can create, right? So it's a complex task. But we have the policies in place now, it's about implementing. And thanks to latest advances like Gen AI, we have the technology that can allow India to leapfrog its demographic talent, like there will be leapfrog in telecom, right? How to do it? The child has to ultimately do it, but the child needs help, right? And each of us, we work in our respective silos. We work in our respective time frames. We need to get out of our own comfort zone. Because if you don't solve the demographic dividend opportunity, everyone will suffer. That I can give you right? We cannot do a local maximum for very long. Right? If so, we are doing a disservice to that girl whose aspirations are sky high in 2024. Right? But opportunities, frictions, right? There's so many other things coming in her way. Right? We just have to remove those barriers. She will fly.
Networking. Due to time constraint, we will not be able to take any questions. But ladies and gentlemen, let's give a big round of applause. It definitely was such an informative fireside chat. I'd like to